This edition of the Sports Den. My name is Dominic Papa. Shout out goes out to the AKO Fratman football team, victorious in their last game of the regular season. They defeat the Twin City Predators 23-0. They finished 7-1. They'll be in action this coming Saturday, OFC playoff action right here at the Windsor Stadium. A semifinal match with the London Beefeaters. You can watch that game live right here on we-tv.ca starting at 6:30 p.m. with the pregame show. Also, a shout out goes out to the St. Clair College baseball programs. Both the men and women win Ontario championships. Dave Cooper and the gang will now try for a national championship. They host the national championships here in Windsor this upcoming weekend out at Lacoste Park. Good luck to Dave Cooper and the St. Clair College Saints men's baseball team. On this edition of the Sports Den, we are going to talk about the hottest topic in sports in our community by far. The CHL was issued a lawsuit. A lawyer has put together a class action suit against the CHL and its three leagues, the Western Hockey League, the Ontario Hockey League, and the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Of course, that includes the Windsor Spitfires. Talk about the union coming to the forefront. Also talk about the players receiving minimum wage. We've got three great guests to talk about that. Also, we're going to talk about the NHL, more specifically the Florida Panthers. Where are the fans? They are non-existent there. We'll talk about that towards the end of the show. Let's get to the panel. As I mentioned, we got three great hockey people to talk about this topic. He played in the OHL. He played minor pro. He's now currently the head coach of the University of Windsor Lancers men's hockey team. They are ranked number 7 in the country. He is also the defending Ontario champion in that league. Kevin Hamlin joins us. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Pleasure to be here, Dom.
Off to a good start this year.
Off to a great start, and things are going well right now. We just got to keep rolling and remember how we got to where we are, and just keep doing those things, little things along the way.
How much of that is carrying over from last year's championship, Kevin?
I think a little bit, but I think the guys came into camp in great shape, and we have a great core group of veterans. Dominic, they're leading the way, and great first-year players, and it's just a nice vibe right now. So hopefully we can keep this going.
Yeah, well, 5-0 start. It's going to be tough this weekend, though. You got to go way up north to Lakehead, and that's always a tough task.
Yeah, it really is. It's a fun environment to play in. They get about 4,000 people at the game, and it's the only show in town. So it's fun for our guys to go up there and play. And typically the games are really competitive.
Every game's competitive. I mean, OUA hockey is outstanding.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we feel it's a great product, and this would be a great test for us. I know the record may indicate that at 5-0 that we're above some of the other teams. We're going to come down to earth real quick when we play Lakehead, because they're a great team. So we're looking forward to it.
That bullseye's on the back, that's for sure, and it's well earned. Thanks for coming in tonight, Kevin.
Thanks, Tom.
Also on the show, an outstanding player in his days as a Windsor Spitfire. I believe he still holds an OHL record for assists. He played professionally as well. He played with the Boston Bruins, and now he's the head coach and doing an outstanding job with the LaSalle Vipers junior hockey team. Of course, I'm talking about number 9, Bill Bowler. Welcome to the show, Bill.
Thanks.
Your team off to a nice start as well. I know you're on a little bit of a skid or a tailspin right now, but overall, taking into account with what you lost last year in your lineup, pretty good start for your team.
Yeah, real good start. We came out of the gates with 5 victories. Credit the guys for being in shape. Kevin mentioned the character of our group and the people coming in. There's no more training camp. The kids are in good shape, and I don't want to say we had an easy schedule, but we've played some of the elite teams of late, and I think we're settling in where we probably should be. Having said that, there's still a lot of hockey to be played.
Mm-hmm. The league itself, Bill, we've talked about this. You come on my radio show regularly. The parity in this league is outstanding, and there's no give-me's on any night. How tough does that make it for you as a coach to get your guys, 1, prepared, and 2, up for the games?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of parity. In my opinion, though, this year I think there's 4 teams that probably will separate from the bottom 4, Sarnia and Chatham, and Mike here to my right, the Leamington Flyers, as well as our team. I think maybe just beneath those 2, Sarnia and Chathams. They've got veteran groups that have been together for a long period of time, but it is junior hockey, so on the weekend going into any building, whether it be a Lambton or a St. Mary's, it's always tough getting 2 points.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate you coming in tonight, Bill. We'll look forward to your comments throughout the show here. Also, as Bill alluded to, joining us on the program, longtime hockey guy. He's built Memorial Cup championship teams. He's been the general manager. I don't remember his playing days because
Nobody does.
I'm just not that old yet. But one of the best hockey men, certainly to ever work in the hockey world in our community, that's come out of our community, does an outstanding job, and he's doing it now with the Leamington Flyers. General Manager Mike Sadler joins us.
My
You
pleasure,
did play,
sir.
right?
Not where they kept
where
track of
Bill
what
played,
went
not
on.
where
Oh,
Kevin
no,
played,
no,
right?
no.
What continues to give you your passion towards the game? You've been around a long time now.
Yeah, I've been around a long time. I've been very fortunate all right from the get-go till now. I've worked with good people, and if it weren't fun, I wouldn't be doing it. And I have been very fortunate. The people I've worked with, Dave Perpich, and now Tony Porosky, and Peter DeBoer, and outstanding people, and you learn a lot, and they're fun to be around.
Toughest challenge to judging a young up-and-coming player today, Mike?
Well, I think you got to project a little bit. I mean, it's not like the NHL where it's a finished product. I mean, obviously, you got to have a minimum skill level and whatever, but you got to try and, is he going to grow? Is he the kind of kid that's going to work on the deficiencies in his game, off ice? And, the unfortunate reality of it is 2 out of every 3 kids that get drafted don't make it. You just want to get as many of that last third as you can.
Yeah, a little bit of a rolling of the dice, so to speak.
Definitely.
All right, thanks for coming in today.
My pleasure.
Of course, if you want to get involved with the show and throw a question out to the panel tonight, you can get involved by contacting us on our Twitter account. You can tweet us at SportsDen Live. You can also tune in to the show at our YouTube channel. You can see it there at the bottom of the screen, youtube.com, Windsor Essex Television. If you want to watch it live there, we'd love to join you there. Again, get on the tweeting, though, and I'll try to read out some of the comments that come in. The CHL, as mentioned, boy, oh boy, they were throwing a huge curveball this past week, or last week, I should say. A lawsuit was filed, a class action lawsuit filed by an attorney stating that players should be treated as employees. They should be at least receiving minimum wage. A lot of things are going on here. There's a lot of moving parts. This is still a pretty fresh story. All of you guys have been involved with junior hockey, and in your days back then, and you, of course, from a management standpoint, any thought would any thought like this have ever come into your minds?
Well, for me, I'm a little bit older than Billy. It was just it was a pleasure to be around the OHL in those days, and my first year was London Knights, and I was just so happy to make the team. I would have paid them to play there. And at the end of the day, I think my parents were equally as happy because it was the first time somebody bought me pads and sticks and everything. So we've come a long way. I don't know if we can say we've come a long way or maybe regressed in the process, but it just seems to me that the CHL takes care of players pretty darn well, and I don't know where this is going, Dom, but I hope that it doesn't impact the best development ground in all of North America, which I think is the CHL, and how can it help really?
Well, the numbers indicate that it's the best development ground in the world for sure. I mean, you look at the NHL and the rosters, it says that for sure. There's going to be a lot of hypothetical thoughts in this show because, as you mentioned, Kevin, we're not sure where this is all going to go. But has the game evolved that much at the junior level that it can, I guess, sustain a union and have that kind of thought?
Well, personally, I don't think there's as much money there to be had as a lot of people think there is. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the Londons, the world, and Kitchener, Ottawa, Windsor, based on their attendance and whatever, they do generate significant amounts of revenue. But conversely, you go to these smaller centers, Owen Sound, Peterborough, Belleville, they don't. Yet they're providing the same level of support to the players that everybody else is, in terms of, billet costs, equipment costs, school costs and whatever. And, I think it's a little bit of it's misleading to think that there's as much there to get as people think there is.
I think the biggest argument that stands out right now, from what I've had a chance to read up on, the group that's put this class action lawsuit in place basically are claiming that the players are employees. And of course, the CHL, represented by Commissioner David Branch, saying they're not employees, they're amateur athletes being provided with an opportunity to get an education and play hockey and develop themselves as a person. Does one side have an edge at this? Are they employees?
I'm sorry, go ahead,
Go ahead,
Kevin.
Bill.
No,
All three of you can speak.
Yeah.
Just go ahead, Bill. You started off.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think Kevin touched on it, especially with young people. No one's forcing any of these players to play in this league, so
Right.
to imagine that there's anything wrong with these young people choosing to play in this league, I think is totally wrong. They're not employees. They are student athletes that are given a great opportunity to become young people, to get an education, to play in a great hockey league, to possibly further play professional, like many do. And I think Mike mentioned it. For some of these other teams, everyone looks at, like we say, the London Knights and think there's a whole bunch of teams like that. That's not the case, even at the junior B level and hockey in general. Kids are paying to play junior A hockey in Toronto. The revenues in that, I just don't think are there. But more importantly, there's a lot that the teams do for their players that unfortunately doesn't get a lot of the headlines.
All right. Go ahead, Ham.
yeah, I think we have to be careful calling these young student athletes employees because, if you deem them as employees, you better have your own toolkit when you come to work. And that means, typically that means you're paying for whatever is in that bag. And if these players are in fact employees, then they're paying for their own skates, they're paying for their $200 sticks, they're paying for all the things necessary for them to come to work every day.
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure that the players and parents want to get into that.
And that I think you're alluding to, Kevin, there, some of the repercussions that could come about if this indeed does go through in some way, some matter. What are your thoughts on it, Mike?
Well, I mean, obviously, if it were to go through, and you have to pay a set fee or salary or whatever you want to call it every week, obviously, yeah, I mean, it's the same as business anywhere, and you've got to balance the bottom line, and if we got to pay out more in salaries, we're not going to pay out as much as we do in tuition enhancements or equipment enhancements. I mean, like Kevin alluded to, I mean, everything is paid for. Their billet costs and everything else, and their parents get season tickets and et cetera. So there's basically no cost for the players to play in the league, and it's a chance, like Bill said, for conceivably to turn pro and make the kind of money that's being made now, or worst case scenario, your post-secondary schooling is paid for at an institution like Kevin.
Go ahead, Bill. You want to say?
And just who's spearheading it? Like, I'm involved in hockey, and I'm not convinced the young players coming out of minor midget are have these concerns. I don't know, like I said, the treatment with whether it be their benefits, the tuition, billets, there are things being provided. And
Including a scholarship program.
well, absolutely. Like your education is being paid for, so long as you're part of the hockey club. And there are different rules with each school package. But again, that's like anything, going on to any hockey team. I have young children. Before they enter baseball, hockey, dance, I ask what the requirements are, what do they get? And again, it's my choice, and I can't stress it enough that it's still a choice by the players whether or not they want to play in this league. So no one's being forced to.
I think a lot of parents, before they sign their son's union card, so to speak, had better take a long, hard look at what it's not costing their kid to play in the OHL. I mean, starting with skates at $700 and sticks at $200, but just take a look at what it costs to put your son in university for a year. And while you're playing with an OHL team, all the school costs are covered. And then after the fact, for every year you've been there, you get a year's tuition and books at a place like Kevin. So you can come out of university debt-free. And in this day and age, that's
That's pretty good
invaluable.
Absolutely. I think to a great extent, a lot of the players in Ontario, certainly at the junior level, not the Ontario Hockey League before they get there, are pretty well taken care of with respect to their equipment needs and things like that. Conversely, if we go to the States, a lot of those programs at the the USJHL, a lot of the Tier 2 teams, players are paying to play.
They're paying to play, and they're buying some of their own equipment. too.
Exactly. Again, we have to be careful what we ask for or what they ask for, because I think, you open up that kind of can of worms. I think the only people that'll benefit will be the lawyers.
I think how this came about was some former players feel that they didn't get treated properly during their playing days. They've moved on since. When I read one article yesterday about it and I saw how it all came about, the first thing that came to my mind was more or less sour grapes. I mean, you didn't make it to the pros and this and that, and now you want to get back pay and things like that. And that's what part of the lawsuit is. All this money, this $180 million, part of it is back pay. Well, I don't see that happening. That's not going to happen. But just the same, that's where this has all come about. You're a former player, Bill. You're a former player, Kevin. Did you have any regrets once your junior careers were done, or do you still look back at that and saying, this was the best thing for me?
Well, for myself, and I'm sure Billy feels the same way, those were the best days of my life. Probably with the exception of when I went to school after my OHL career, and I just look back on those days so fondly. I had great billets. It was a great league. It was an honor for me to play in the league, growing up loving the Spitfires and going to the old barn and watching the Spits play. And I know it was a different day. It was the early '80s, but I'll tell you, it was a privilege to play in the league for 4 years. And I look back, and even today, I've got some great friendships that and a great network across the province. And everybody rips on me a little bit for being playing on 4 teams in 4 different years. But it's what you make out of it. Anybody, no matter in any field, I can look back and dwell on the negative. Anybody can do that. They can find negative in anything, right? I chose not to, and at the end of the day, it taught me so much that, to be perfectly honest, Dom, I don't know if I'd be here professionally on a professional level if it weren't for those days that I spent in the OHL. So whenever I think of the OHL, I have a great sense of gratitude.
4 years, 4 teams, that's because you were in great demand each year.
That's what they told me.
It was.
That's what they kept telling me.
So take it that way, okay, buddy? What about you, Bill?
Unfortunately, only one team wanted me. I only
Yes.
played for
Well,
one
no.
team. So
They wanted you, and they weren't going to let you go under any circumstance.
yeah, no, there's no regrets. I was grew up in Toronto, came down to Windsor, and hindsight's 20/20. Could have you played elsewhere? Could have you maybe tried the college route? But no, if you look back, you could. It's like Kevin mentioned. It's who I am today. I got to play professional hockey for 10 years. I moved away, ended up meeting my wife, and so it all comes back to what the Windsor Spitfires helped me do, and that was achieve a goal to move on in hockey. And were there times throughout my career where I wasn't happy with maybe the Windsor Spitfires or how we were treated or that? But that's life. I can assure you the LaSalle Vipers are upset if we get them the wrong order of pizza. So it's part of it. I have no regrets. The league's been good to me, and I still work with a lot of players in the league, with skill development and that, the kids are in video games, and it's just, we can go on and on about what the kids get today, and it's without a doubt the best development league. And as far as the hockey goes, that's why people are playing in the league. They love the hockey, and hopefully some of these Windsor Spitfires will be pros one day as well.
Chris says this lawyer that's thrown the class action lawsuit out should be ashamed of himself. He should leave the CHL alone. It's an outstanding way to create young men and contribute to the NHL. Thanks for that comment, Chris. We're going to take a time out here on the Sports Den. When we come back, we'll finish up talking about the CHL and the lawsuit, and we're also going to talk a little NHL hockey right here on the Sports Den.
Imagine a place to climb, to tumble, to fly, to run, to glide, to achieve, where a sense of health, friendly competition, and growth all come together. Can you imagine that place, that destination? We have, and we're building it right now in Windsor, with a planned development of almost 200,000 square feet of athletic playground, and that's just on the inside. Central Park Athletics, some of it's already here, the rest is coming soon. Imagine that.
Welcome back to the Sports Den. Thanks for sticking around. Dominic Papa with you, and we'll get back to the hockey talk in just a moment. But just a quick reminder, coming up this weekend here on we-tv.ca, AKO Fratman playoff football action. Of course, it's the semifinals, and they'll be taking on the London Beefeaters. You can watch it live starting at 6:30 with the AKO kickoff pregame show. 7 o'clock, all the action from the Windsor Stadium. Kevin Hamlin from the University of Windsor Lancers men's hockey team is with us. Also, Bill Bowler from the LaSalle Vipers joining us, and the general manager of the Leamington Flyers Hockey Club, Mike Sadler, in the studio with us. We, of course, are talking about the lawsuit that has been filed against the CHL, the Ontario Hockey League, the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, and the Western Hockey League. I think so far the panel would say that the lawsuit probably not necessary at this point, no need for it, and I happen to believe that as well. I think there's other ways to work things out. And again, this is all hypothetical, guys, because we don't know where this is going to go. I'll say it again, if this does go through, does the OHL, that's the league we're most familiar with, how will it affect some of the league there? Because I think there are some small issues in the league right now as it stands. That there's a little bit of a gap in some areas. Nothing where it's shutting down teams or the league, but this really, I think, could put... Go ahead, Mike.
I think it could end up shutting down some teams. More so out west. I mean, you know, I haven't been there, but places like Swift Current and whatever, I mean, they're not big places. And there's, you know, Owen Sound's not a big place. And, you know, you can market your team as hard as you can, but there's only X number of dollars you can squeeze out of the community, and you know, I don't think that they can continue to provide everything they're doing now, plus have to pay a minimum wage. So something's got to give if this comes to fruition.
I look at Saginaw, I look at Owen Sound, I look at even Plymouth, teams like that. I think that's the teams that are going to be affected the most here. And that creates another question in itself. You look at Plymouth, Erie, and Saginaw, they're American teams. The minimum wage thing's a different thing. The laws are different over there.
Well, exactly. You know, same as in Quebec, same as in other provinces. So, I mean, this isn't as cut and dry, black and white, I think, as they're trying to make it sound like it is. And, you know, I'm not sure where it's going to go. I just fear for the worst.
Okay. What are your thoughts on it, Bill? Will we lose teams? Will we lose players?
Absolutely. There's, again, I'm not privy to every team's financials, but there's no way you could sustain the costs, in my opinion. You know, being involved in the junior B level, but even at the OHL level, with all the monies that are going to tuition and billet costs and equipment costs, sticks, like it's. Unfortunately, again, we look at the London Knights with 9,000 people. That's one hockey team. You've brought up 3 organizations or franchises. Walk into their building, look at the fan base, look at the numbers. It's not very hard to see that. It's very difficult. But the good thing of what I find the OHL has done is when there has been some revenue, they have given it back into different programs, whether it be the new mental health program.
Which they just announced, yeah.
Absolutely. Like there's certain things that, if they keep hoarding the money or if there is some extra revenue, but I don't think that's the case. I think you get better coaching. I think the players are getting treated better. And I think it's proven with the product that we see in OHL games.
Well, could there be, maybe what will come out of this, could there be the talk maybe of some type of a cap of some sort for all teams? You can make this much money and you have to work with these dollars you know, I mean, the kids are getting a stipend right now each week, and it varies. I don't know how much it is currently, but does something like that maybe come into play here?
Well, I think, and Mike said this earlier, I think that there are some big market teams and some small market teams. And it's very difficult even to guess about what if, because that's a huge what if. We're talking about a huge leap here. If this does go to second base now, can you imagine being a small market team? I mean, there would definitely have to be some kind of profit sharing, revenue sharing formula so that all teams are playing on a level playing field. But at the end of the day, I started thinking about how this might impact CIS. And it would impact us in a very big way. I mean, we reap the benefit from these school packages. There's all kinds of money spent on student tuition. They're not going to have that same money. No. So the players may make it at the front end, but at the back end, they're not going to have their full packages. They're not going to have their full rides to university. And how would that impact their future? So would you sacrifice an extra $50 or $75 a week? And not have a school package at the end of the day? I wouldn't. So, obviously they got a long way to go before they start thinking like that, but it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But I got to think that, cooler heads will prevail and these things will settle themselves out, because I can't see this getting a second base. I really can't.
I agree with you on that, Kevin. On the flip side of it, hypothetically again, the group that's filed this action lawsuit, let's say it doesn't go anywhere and it backfires. Boy, is this guy out of a job? Is he done as a lawyer? I mean, the group, there's certain players, again, that have already bought into the thinking here. How does that affect them?
Well, I think a lot of the people that are getting involved in these suits are disgruntled for whatever reason.
Sour grapes.
And if, the OHL or hockey in general did not give you what you thought you were going to get out of it, maybe it's your fault. Mm-hmm. Don't always blame the team you played for or anything else. Are there some stories of situations where things didn't work out right? Obviously there are. But for the most part, I got to believe in this day and age that any kid and his parents who say that their son did not have a positive experience playing in the OHL, I think they're few and far between.
Stephanie's written in and she says, leave the OHL just the way it is. It's fine. I will miss OHL hockey. If this does happen, it will be gone. Could be, Stephanie. I'm not sure, but I don't think it's going to go that far. Quick comment. I've only got about a minute and a half, guys. I want to talk about the Florida Panthers really quickly of the NHL. 2 home games. One game, it looked like there was about 4,000 fans there. The next game, I think about 6,000 or 7,000 fans there. The NHL, the word retraction comes to mind when I think of the NHL. I know the player agents and all the unions and all that there don't want to hear stuff like that, but why is this happening? Is that franchise in trouble?
Well, it's still summertime down there and it's football season.
There you go, yes.
No, but I think the game plan of the NHL way back when, and I don't know that it's working, was to blanket the country and try and get the television coverage. But I mean, hockey is very popular in certain areas.
Sure. It's got its pockets.
And it's not elsewhere. And, the reality is, if a guy's not making money, he's going to sell out and move on. These guys didn't get money because they're stupid. So, the law of supply and demand will kick in here someplace.
Retraction. What do you think, Bill?
It's in a 30-team league, it's very difficult. I'm a firm believer if you win some more games, you might get some more fan support.
Winning helps, for sure.
And it's just part of it. I think teams go in cycles, and Mike mentioned being down south, and I know when I used to play down south in Texas, we weren't allowed to play on Friday nights because of high school football. So again, this time of the year down there, there's no question they're not in their hockey mindset, but there's no question those attendance numbers have to increase if they're going to stay in Florida.
Final say, Hammer?
Well, I'll tell you, I love going to Sunrise to watch games
Yes, it's a
because it's the
beautiful
only
place.
place in the league where for $10 you can get a ticket and move right
Yep.
to the glass. So I hope they never move out of there, but it'd be very difficult to sustain, their kind of bills and whatnot, drawing only 5 to 7, especially with the talent they have
Yeah.
there. And it's been nice to see, watch the game the other day with Ekblad playing, played a ton of minutes. It's great to see that local connection.
Sure.
Of course, Eddie's been there, and I hope that they can turn it around because it really is a great place to watch a game, and it'd be a shame if they lost that team.
All right. Gentlemen, good luck with the rest of your seasons. I really appreciate you coming in to talk about this topic here today, and hopefully we get to talk more hockey down the road with you, okay? And that's it, this edition of the Sports Den. Check us out again next Tuesday, same time, same channel, and we'll talk more sports right here on the Sports Den.